Welcome back to John's Comics with Friends, but we're not talking about comics tonight. We're talking books. I've been doing a bunch of these sort of book review hangouts on the channel here. I've created a live stream playlist for you if you want to go in the playlist. It's currently called ACOTAR playlist, but I probably need to translate it into, just book clubs, I guess. I don't know, because we've gone way beyond Sarah J. Maas at this point. And Tonight, we're talking about author Matt Dinniman and his Dungeon Crawler Carl series. 7 novels currently published, an 8th planned for next year. Hardcovers all available, digital versions available. There are digital comics available of spin-off stories. There are Kickstarters available. Lots of different ways to interact with the world that Matt Dinniman has created here. And we're going to get into a little bit of all of it, but specifically we're going to be talking about the first book. So if you're curious about it, if you want to learn a little bit about it, if you want to be somewhat spoiled on it, we are definitely going to get into details and chat it all up with you. And by we, I mean people like the Bearded Comic Bro.
What's up, buddy?
Come on, Greg.
Look at that.
You got it right there. Look at you, ready to go.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to dig into this world. Here, I'll just show that off.
Oh, signed to Greg.
Dungeon Crawler Greg.
Oh man, I was tempted. He was doing a signing up in LA the day JP or the day after JP flew home when he was visiting me, and I was tempted on that Monday to drive up, but I didn't end up pulling the trigger.
It's probably smart because it probably would have been insane. It was to get to his panel. It was like a 3-hour wait.
It was mobbed. Okay.
Well, and that was like a surprise, like, oh, it got announced like a week before.
Oh, and he was hyping this LA signing a ton.
Yeah, so Instagram. It probably was insane. So you're probably wise.
But we've also got other fans of the Dungeon Crawler universe, members of the Donut Holes. We got JP. What's going on, JP?
I'm here. I'm ready to go.
I know. You've been impatient with me, and I appreciate how that must feel.
JP's been doing laps on this series around us all.
I mean, I feel like Greg started first, but JP may have almost finished before me. He was right neck and neck. Okay. Yeah. But we've also brought another friend through this whole experience, somebody who's been ahead of us in the ACOTAR side of things. But now, we got to get ahead a little bit on Big O. What's going on, Paul?
It felt so good to read a book before Big O. It was nice. Just so he didn't have that, like, oh, I know what's going to happen before you idea, because he does that, and he knows, and it's okay.
I'm pretty sure I was the last on this one, for sure.
I was happy that I started so far behind this group, but I was one of the first to finish the 7th book. So we'll get into like who finished ahead of who and all that kind of stuff at some point. But I just felt good not to be. I was sucking last place the whole way through this thing.
And then I literally started the series, and then the last book took me so long that I was y'all laughed.
I was gonna say, yeah. John started last, finished first, I think.
Which is usually not my style. I'm the like 4th quarter fade guy, so I don't know how I turned the
John's like that sprinter at the baseball games where they give you like the fan like a 20-second head start, and then like he sprints real fast. Like, suck it, I got you.
It's not the way it usually. My brothers will call me the 4th quarter fade a lot. Like, John's getting tired, let him sit down, rotate him out of the game.
How you got through book 3 and 4 so fast, it was very impressive.
I was powering through at that point. I locked in. But let's check in the chat. Of course, all the panel members, like Paul, who's first in the chat, their links are down below, so you can find all of them here if you want to find their YouTube channels. But we've also got White Tiger Ruben Guzman in the chat. What's going on, Ruby G? We got friend Daymares. What's going on, Adam? I sent him the link too if he wants to join. He's more than welcome because I know he has finished all of these books. It sounds like he had a good night out. Hopefully enjoyed a good meal, if nothing else. Bearded Comic Bro says, I hope you're on your phone on a date. Let him know what to look forward to. John is always on his phone on dates now.
Tell me I'm wrong, John. Tell me I'm wrong.
I don't go on dates really anymore. I mean, we'll go, the wife and I had a night out, date night, I guess you could call it.
That's a date. That's a date. You got to date your spouse.
Because we got 3 channel members here, 3 people on the panel here, all with wedding anniversaries here this month. So very exciting.
Oh, October.
Yeah, 3. Don't you pointed at me? Don't point at me.
I tried to do 1, 2, 3, like me, and then
you okay?
And now White Whale Comics too, because he just got married.
All the cool kids in October,
right? No Gore Vidal. You will never on my channel find a Cormac McCarthy book club. It's not going to be a thing. It's just not going to be a thing. And Kenneth Bird, what's going on, Kenneth? Oh, sorry, not working. What's going on? I might be having some lag. There we are. Hey, what's up, Kenneth? Good to see you, sir. No phones the entire time. I'm happy to hear, buddy. Apologies all around. But the other benefit, Gore, is you're probably never going to see me talk about Saga. So you take the good and the bad, however you're feeling about it. So I know you got strong feelings about both those guys. Let's kick it off with as we usually do on these shows. What's everybody drinking? I'm having a little larceny here tonight. I don't know if anybody's got water. I saw some water.
Just a little water.
Who's hydrating? How are we doing?
I have caffeinated bourbon tonight. I need a little Diet Coke and Evan Williams.
It's pretty late for you and Greg. JP,
I was having my stomach was not doing the best today, so we're doing well.
Okay.
A little gym and then a little high noon, just because I don't want to have to go refill my bourbon. So and I also didn't want to bring the bottle down because I'm like, let's pace this out because
I get it.
It's late night, so I'm already going to be tired, so I don't need to be drinking too much to then also be like, I love Dungeon Crawler, Carl.
Well, I'm pacing myself too because I'm working tomorrow. My school has their annual Oktoberfest party tomorrow, and it's like 1,000 people come through this thing. It is busy.
Oh wow!
So I'm helping. I'm in the dunk booth. I'm doing the bar sometimes. I'm emceeing stuff, so it's like I gotta be a little bit awake.
Tell me you go to a cool school when you have a bar for like a
Oktoberfest
at every event.
School?
Always a bar, but I'll show you guys some videos tomorrow of the Oktoberfest. I usually put something on my Instagram to show.
Do you wear lederhosen?
There's a live band, and there's beer
cool.
and the big old steins, and it's amazing.
Do you dress up, John?
This is the first year, and I'm actually doing it. Yeah,
I've
done this. I've done this for about 17 years. This is the first year I actually bought the lederhosen and the hat.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So we'll see.
You look like you could pull it off, and I mean that in the nicest way.
I mean, I do have some very close German heritage, so it's in there somewhere.
See.
Well, good. We all got a little something to drink. We can enjoy this evening, but let's specifically talk a little bit about how we found this world, because I'm just going to blame that guy. It all started for me in our little book talk chat on Instagram when Greg was like, this is the new thing. This is the thing we got to read. This is it. And he was hyping the daylights out of this. Is that true with everybody else?
Yeah, that's correct.
Greg was actually the second person, but he was the one that convinced me. So I had a guy, a fellow teacher that we were doing actually book reviews for the subject area that I teach. And he was like, if you guys read just nonfiction books, you got to read Dungeon Crawler Carl. And I didn't think anything of it because that guy was a little bit out there. But then when Greg says it, it's like, oh, okay, he's a little bit more legit of a person.
Suck it, teacher. I'm cooler than you.
Yeah. So he was definitely the convincing factor for me to pick it up.
All right. And Daymare says he got it through JP. So there's 6 degrees kind of all starting in some ways with Greg. So then, Greg, how did you find it?
So what's wild is so Justin Birch, good comic friend of the YouTubes on here,
award-winning letterer.
Yeah, he texted me. He's like, dude, you've got to read the Dungeon Crawler Carl books because Nick from Two Brothers Comics and him were reading it. And he's like, you got to get into this. I'm like, I don't need another book to get into. But I trust Justin and his opinion and stuff. And so because we had been talking about novels and things that we read. And so in January, I picked up Dungeon Crawler Carl and was keeping pace with them. And what's funny is I think Justin is still as now delayed. He's like still only on book 4.
Oh, that's funny.
And so like it's funny how everyone that gets you to start, sometimes you pass and you lap, but it was Justin and Nick. And so for the first 4 books I was reading, I was very much doing what we were doing once you were in, of like chatting about stuff and going of like, oh my goodness, this part happened and this thing. And so like that was like my first kind of little book club group with Justin and Nick. Nice. And then in the back chats after our Sarah J. Maas book shows or Fourth Wing, I'm like, y'all, like, you guys should check this out. It's pretty good. Like I feel like I felt like I knew JP and Paul would like it. Like you were always the wild card of whether you like it.
I think yeah, you guys were all like, I don't know if John's gonna like this.
I wasn't sure John would like it either.
So I think it was once he's like, I got through book 4, we're like, okay, he's gonna love book 5. So we're like, okay, fine. He's in. He's one of us.
Once he got past once he was into the second book and it was like said he was into it, I was like, okay, he's gonna like it. I didn't expect him. I worried he wouldn't get past the first book.
And I bought it as a bundle digitally, so I'm gonna get my money out of that. JP, I know you've had like connections through people at work and stuff, friends that you've called the donut holes that you text memes with that are reading this.
I've gotten 3 coworkers at my office that are reading it and were reading it with me. Well, one is still behind. She's currently got my 4th book borrowed that she's reading, and then 2 others were reading it at the same time I was, and then I found out like that my boss had started reading it, and there was a couple other people that were working in different offices that were reading it. So yeah, there's several people that I've been talking to about this book. Yes.
And Paul, anybody in your outside? You said there's one guy beyond your circle this circle.
I've convinced both of my brothers to start reading it. So my youngest brother, he does the audiobooks only. He doesn't do the textbooks, and I think he's into book 4 or 5 in the audiobooks, and he just started last week. So that's all he's like. He works
his free time.
He works remotely, so while he's working, he's probably listening while he's working. Okay. So it's nice. Like he's getting through a lot of it. And then the middle brother, I think, is also. I think we've convinced him to start reading it too. So
nice.
Trying to get as many of my buddies from high school and their friends and everybody to get into it. So
all the jokes of like how this is a cult is 100% true, as as we're all describing like our like can we tell you about the good news of Dungeon Crawl?
I was saying like the lady that works up front in my office that was the one that was reading it the most, like at the same time I was, like literally everyone. She was pushing it on everyone. Once I got, she was into it. She was like everyone. Like
it is funny. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show. You know, Matt Dinniman hopped into a book festival and they announced it like a week before in Columbus that he was going to be there. And I don't think the Columbus Library understood like what they had.
How big of a get.
And like, because like I think like for whatever reason, it was still like going through. I was standing in line. There was a 3-hour wait to get to his panel.
Wow.
With 2 other authors. And I felt so bad for the other authors because like if you were like, oh, I'm gonna go see this at a book festival, like chances are you weren't gonna get there 3 hours early to go hear your favorite author speak.
No,
but because they put him with Matt Dinniman, which was like crazy, and like everyone, like people were like, I drove from Kentucky, I drove from Indiana, like 3-4 hours because they're like, this is the closest he's been,
and then stood in line 3 hours,
and then waited 3 hours to go to the panel. And luckily, they gave everyone at the panel a token that then you could wait in line for the autograph. Nice. But like it was. Like, I don't think people understand like the insane amount of following and like, you know, we were talking about the Kickstarter and like how much money and stuff it was making the day of like, these donut holes and Princess Posses are insane. And I love it.
Right.
So from what
Greg
I know,
Adam says his boss and wife are listening to the audiobooks. And
that's
the Mike Man is your brother. Okay, he's like, I'm cursed due to you.
Yeah, I don't know how many of the memes like we've shared of the one of us every time we get somebody hooked into like starting to read, and then like the one where the guy like is walking and the other guy's like walking after him faster, and it's like it just says like, have you read Dungeon Crawler? And they like start chasing him. We're like, yeah, that's us.
Our Lord and Savior, Princess Donut.
Yes.
Sorry, Paul, you were saying something?
Oh, I was just go off of what Greg was saying. If I remember correctly, like all of the story itself was published like through Reddit or something online, to where you could have read like books 1 through 7 online somewhere. But then because it got such a big following online and people were pushing him, like Amazon reached out, got him to be the distributor for the books, and it's just like, and it's just.
And then since
exploded.
then, he's gotten a publisher for the actual hardcovers as well.
Yeah.
Because they're not, and Greg, you were telling me they're not going to be in a soft cover. It's either digital or hardcover. That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah. Well, if you get the soft cover, they have soft covers.
In the Kickstarter.
From the Kickstarter, because that's how it originally, and they were so successful. That then they now are hardcover. Like, Ace Publishing came along to say, hey, we're going to put it out one a month to catch up to where you are to get to book 7. And if you look at eBay for those, like, on Goodreads, you'll see the graphic of the actual
original ones.
Those original softcover ones are insanely priced for, like, because people are like, they got in right off the get-go, and it literally is how we're experiencing it. Is what happened earlier before, of like people were, and that's why it got to where it is, that a publisher's picking it up to be like, yep, we're gonna do hardcovers now.
Like he talked about, I saw a thing he talked about like recently. They're interviewing him, and like he just sold like the hardcover rights. That's it. He has the rights to everything else. Like him and Jeff have the rights to the audio book. Like they let Audible distribute it, but they have the rights to make it. Like nobody can make it but them. Like they have and like he will publish. He said that like when book 8 comes out, it'll come out as that soft cover for those people that want to complete that
the Kickstarter.
Before he does, he lets them publish it as a hardcover again.
Which is great, which is awesome, because like he recognizes and he understands like that's where he came from, that's where he started. He's going to keep doing it. That's great. I think that's a good.
And fans want to have a nice looking set up on the shelf that matches. You don't want to have a mismatch.
People that have those originals can get a version like that of all the books that have yet to be published.
For sure. And then there's the spin-off
too now.
There's the spin-off digital webtoon or whatever, right?
The webtoon that he worked with people on, and
the webtoon is the actual book 1. So if you like, so if you're into like the whole scrolling on webtoons on your phone, it is a scrolling format comic that you can just look through.
Yeah, it is this book.
And that is that book. The Kickstarter from Vault graphic novel is a separate story in and of itself.
That's the one that's like Florian or whatever, right?
Yep, Florian.
The backer kit, or whatever.
So I guess we should get into the story. I mean, we're 18 minutes in, really just about us and how we got into this. And as you can see, there's a lot of hype here, a lot of excitement, a lot of joy that was gotten from all of us diving into this series. But the concept, just so anybody who's never heard of it before, is fairly, I guess, straightforward. The idea being that it's a sort of sci-fi fantasy blend. We've got Carl, who is a somewhat lonely figure whose girlfriend has been cheating on him. She's just taken a trip, and he's found out that she's with some other guy. And he's at home taking care of her cat, although he seems to be caring more about Donut, the cat, than she does. And Donut escapes their apartment on a very cold night in Seattle area. And he goes out in his boxer shorts to chase Donut down. And just as he scoops Donut up, the apartment vanishes along with all the sort of man-made structures on the planet Earth. They get pulled under the ground, and a little ways away, a stairwell manifests, and he is sort of given an announcement that Earth all this time has been owned by a corporation, and they are cashing in. They are collecting all the resources, and he has two choices. He can survive on the surface of Earth with whatever is left by the corporation, or he can attempt to go down the stairwell and join the dungeon crawl and try to survive level by level in a sort of televised entertainment for the universe. And the winner might get a chance to have a life again outside of this world. But this is going to be very dangerous. Lots of monsters to contend with. Other people also going down into the dungeon to contend with. And in a sort of video game sort of way, there's going to be tutorials and things that are going to happen to him when he makes this choice. And of course he does. He and Donut go down into the dungeon, and soon after, Donut is revealed to be a contestant as well. That there are some animals that compete in this competition, and she is given a pill that allows her to be completely sentient. She speaks, she interacts, and she is another player in this dungeon crawl. And each book follows Carl as he ventures further and further down in this contest, both against the corporation running it, all the creatures inside of it, and the other contestants from Earth who are just trying to make it to the next floor. So that's the overall concept here. Book 1 covers the first 2 levels of the dungeon, and I'm just curious, kind of, what are your overall thoughts? And I'll let Greg go first because this was his baby for us all. How did you feel about book 1? You've now listened to the audiobook as well for book 1. So what are your overall thoughts on this premiere volume?
I remember reading it and just being captivated by the character development. Like, I got invested in Donut and Carl very early on into the read. I was hesitant of like getting into this because it's like, oh, it's Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing stuff, and I just never got into that world. So I was like, am I going to understand what's going on? And I do think, sometimes the rules of the game can be bogged down of how many prize boxes you have to open up throughout a book and things like this. And like, but I've come to appreciate what Matt Dinniman does in this is really, he sets the stage to open it up and to then invest in our 2 characters, and everyone else, like, you get involved with the other ones and you like it, but it has always, the series seems to be like, it's going to be, we're going to follow along with Donut and Carl the entire time, and everyone else is going to come. You're going to get their backstories and stuff through interaction with them. And I feel like that's a strength of this book, as well as then moving forward, because you really are invested into these 2 characters that you care about, and as other ones come along. And so I thought like his writing style it's unique, of like, there's it's kind of like there's funny moments, but like it's hard to even be funny sometimes because it's such a dark concept as well, of like you're in a blood battle for your life in a Running Man kind of televised show for across the world. But I think that what attracted me to this book the most was I feel like I've never seen it often in sci-fi books where it's taking pop culture and like, what would pop culture be like for us? And like, I think sometimes even like aliens and other races, like, I don't think I've ever thought of the concept of like, oh, they also probably have some type of pop culture too.
What is their entertainment?
Like, what does that look like? And this, and so I thought that whole concept is interesting. And again, I know I'm sure there's stuff that's been out there, but I think a lot of times when we do these sci-fi books of aliens and other creatures, it's more of like this high tech that we don't get to deal with. And they're just kind of like, oh, this is a pop culture that they like, and this is what they gravitate.
It's not like in Aliens or Predator or Dune, we're hearing about what they watch on TV at night and what entertains them, right? They seem like, it doesn't seem like Luke Skywalker comes home and watches TV. He doesn't have any entertainment.
And so I thought that was interesting to kind of go like the idea of like, well, yeah, if there are other lives out, other things out there, beings out there, they probably have something that entertains them as well. And what is that? And what does it look like? And how similar does it look like to what we do as on Earth and stuff like that? So I've always thought that like that initial thing kind of just hooked me in right off the bat for this. I'm like, that's such an interesting concept, because like, what would Luke Skywalker, what would he have watched when he got home from, doing this stuff on Tatooine, like,
for sure.
And so, and how much
they didn't have a holodeck, right? At least Star Trek had the holodeck. They could entertain themselves, right?
Yeah. So like, I thought it was an interesting twist on, like we've mentioned Hunger Games and things like this and Running Man, like, but the whole pop culture aspect I thought was just captivating to me. So like that initially drew me in and hooked me.
Yeah. JP, how about you? Now have you done all the audiobooks at this point?
No, I'm on to the 6th audiobook.
Okay.
Like
but you've read all the books, you're plowing through the audiobooks.
To the audiobooks after the fact.
Then what are your thoughts on this first volume?
Yeah, I was trying to think as Greg was talking, like what hooked me into this. And I think it was paced really interesting. And I really from the beginning, enjoyed Carl as a character of this is Carl is, I find very interesting in the fact that he comes off as this gruff, sort of unfeeling, kind of like the persona he puts out there is he's this loner, gruff thing. And yet he is actively, even though he's doing this, constantly trying to save everyone. He keeps telling himself it's a bad idea. And yet he can't walk away from the other people that are in the dungeon and even as we get later in the books, like even the NPCs that are actually he's supposed to be fighting, he struggles he struggles with this moral thing of and as we learn more about Carl in his life, and it's you see that there's depths to Carl that and he his struggle in terms of Carl doesn't probably like himself very much at all, as he goes through this. And
no, he values everybody else far above himself.
Yes. And, and there was just something about Carl that I really enjoyed. And then you add one of the best animal companions I think I've ever gotten in fiction in Princess Donut. Because I'm a cat person. I have a cat now. I've had cats most of my life in some form or another, as well as dogs. I'm both. I'm not a dog person or cat person. I love both of them, but I love cats. And
you have Cocker Spaniels.
Donut's attitude is so perfect in terms of she's just Dinniman writes her so well, in terms of giving her a personality, and very much it works so well in terms of and you see her how much ultimately she cares about Carl. And I love that I don't know, and maybe it's just me because I'm single, I live with my pets, they're probably next to my family, they're the closest thing to me. You see the main relationship in this is a man and his pet, his cat. And it's not romantic. They didn't turn her into a cat girl. He didn't do any of that weird stuff that could have happened in these books. And I just think the dynamic there works really well. And then the other stuff that plays off of it just builds a really interesting and intricate world. He's built a lot of depth into this that as you read and you keep going, there's just everything's got extra layer to it as you go through it. And even the silly stuff that you start off and with the AI and some of the crazy stuff the AI says, as you go deeper, you realize that there's reasons for the way the AI acts, and there's reasons for the way the mobs that they fight act, and there's and their trainer, the way he acts, there's the layers behind a lot of this as you go through this. And so I don't know, I think initially it was Carl and Donut that hooked me, but then as it got deeper and deeper, it was okay, there's a lot going on here that I really, really enjoyed.
For sure. And Paul, how about you? Thoughts on this first book?
Yeah, I agree with JP a lot. Those character development aspects throughout the book really kept me going. And something that Adam had put in the chat, actually talking about kind of the stuff that I grew up doing, right? Playing video games, doing D&D, reading, sci-fi fantasy books as it is. All of those things were all there, right? All of those things were a part of that character development. And then now you've got this guy who's thrown in this crazy situation, and he's living through that role-playing game that I grew up with. So all of those aspects kind of kept me going, and as those character development points and those plot points started to showing up more and more, book one was just kind of getting your feet wet on a lot of that. But then as you go through the books, it's like, oh, there is so much depth behind the scenes that, you know, it really like, oh, you're thinking about, oh, what does this mean when they do something, you know,
Sure.
looking back after having read all of them and now going back through book one with the audiobook, trying to pay attention to the little details,
the nuance,
of
the
nuances of the AI and all of the announcements, and what does that mean for like later when
Right.
we're getting more information from that. And it's really fun to just kind of get that second chance to look at that world.
Yeah.
So it definitely will, like that character development for me and those interactions within a world of like something that I've recognized,
Right.
that I've enjoyed, you know, media wise, consuming media.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
it kept me going. It made it way easy to read.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying. Certainly, the characters are easy to pull you in, and it's funny because I had, just hearing the concept, I had ideas in my mind for what the tone of the book would be, and you guys tried your best to correct me because I was definitely expecting something that it was not. I was expecting something a little more fantasy D&D, a little more comedic, a little more Douglas Adams Hitchhiker's Guide, as far as like you know, comedic, sarcastic perspective on the world and the universe and the petty little place we occupy. It felt like it was going to be more in that tone, and it definitely for me is more Hunger Games. I heard Running Man mentioned. It feels more like Ready Player One in those regards, that it's very grounded and feels very authentic and very much you know, the deaths and the life and death stakes seem more weighted. So that was my biggest shift in perspective when reading it. Was I went in thinking like, this sounds funny, it sounds comedic, and it really is only comedic sporadically. Certain characters, obviously, like Donut, have a way of speaking that is humorous, but it's not a like jokey kind of book in any way for me. And that was the biggest shift for my mental sort of space on it. You guys mentioned some of the other side characters. Obviously, Mordecai is a character that's pretty significant all the way through. I don't know if we want to spend any time with their trainer. We meet Mordecai right at the beginning of this first book, and he is basically the tutorial for them in a lot of ways, and he gives them advice, and that continues all the way through. And on each new level they make it to, his appearance changes. The AI alters what he looks like and how he interacts with them a little bit on each level. And so therefore he has obviously a big backstory, but he is shaped each time visually, at least, by the AI running him. Any thoughts? I'll let Paul go first maybe this time on Mordecai and kind of the function he serves in the story, and your enjoyment of him as I guess he would be the third lead in some regard.
Yeah, I even throughout the rest of the series, I think Mordecai plays probably the next biggest factor towards things, other than Carl and Donut.
Sure.
I think he's influential in some of their decision making. Like they don't take him for granted, right? A lot of times when you do the RPGs, the walkthroughs and stuff like that, it's like, oh, that first kind of trainer tutorial kind of place is just nonsense anyways. And Carl doesn't take him for granted whatsoever. Like he tries to soak up as much information in this first book, especially from Mordecai, that he can. And Mordecai realizes probably towards the end of this first book that Carl's not here just to survive. He's here to win almost. So, and I think that makes Mordecai a little bit more invested, right? Because at the beginning, you know, through some of the parts of the book, we see him, you know, doing different things, and he's not really taking, Mordecai isn't really taking Carl and Donut seriously. And then he realizes at the end, closer towards the end of this first book, that Carl wants to win, and like,
and that maybe he's got a shot, because Mordecai's obviously been through this. I'm a trainer and I've watched my players die many times, right?
Yep. So
Yeah.
I think Mordecai, especially this first book and even this first couple set of books, is probably one of those foundational characters for the series.
For sure.
It would be like if Carl's 1A and Donut's 1B, or you switch them, however it is, Mordecai's got to be number 2 in all of this.
JP, how about you? What are your thoughts on Mordecai? At least how we get him here at the beginning, right?
I mean, here at the beginning is you don't get a full perspective of, exactly who and what Mordecai is. Obviously, you get a lot of that later. But yeah, Mordecai in the beginning is like, I mean, it's like, oh, I can't even let you in. Like, he's not really running to help them all that much initially. Like, but as they go along, you can see Mordecai, I think, sees people that he spent so long in the dungeon and Mordecai is, as we learn going through the book, and even you see here, is kind of a sad character. He's like he is not, necessarily happy to be here or happy to still be trying to help crawlers, or he's willing, but he's not like, he's not going to get attached to these people because he doesn't think they're going to survive. And it's sort of like every time they come back, it's like, oh, you guys are still here. You guys are still going. And like, he starts to realize that there's more to these two than meets the eye. But yeah, like Mordecai, there's a lot of, even in this book though, you can tell there's a lot more to this person that's helping them than just a tutorial guide. Just like, okay, here are the rules. And like, and you even see like, as they go through and they start to get, when they first get like, basically someone comes to, one of the game people comes to like meet with them because they've been pulled on the shows and because they've made a name for themselves and have an audience. And like, he starts to take opportunities to give Carl more information than he's technically allowed to give when he's like, knows that they're offline. And like, he starts investing in the two of them in a way he probably hasn't in a long time.
Right.
Into the crawlers that he's like dealt with. Because he sees something about Carl and Donut that like he realizes, that this is somebody who has the potential to go a long way, and that like if I invest in, it's not necessarily going to be wasted time. Yeah, and and so Mordecai is he's an excellent character. He's to explain just Paul thing is like anybody hasn't read it, like he like as you go through the game, eventually you can like change. Like you can in a like D&D or whatever, you can be whatever race you want. You can like change your race and that kind of stuff. And Mordecai is a former player. He's a former crawler who survived, but now is doing it basically still working his way to get his freedom. Like so, and like you realize that as you go through, and he had been when he played a changeling, and now like, which means he can change his race, but the AI doesn't let him. The AI does it for him. So he's even lost that bit of autonomy. He can't even like be what he wants to be. Like he has to be what the game wants him to be. Yeah. And he's been in it. Like he went through what Carl and Donut are going through a long time ago, and now he's still stuck there. And you see, like he's still working his way through, and you see him like. You can tell, like he struggles with, like, how much do I invest in these two people? Like as I go through, them. Like I want to help them, but do I want to care? And and in this early books, you can really see that he's fighting that battle with himself a little bit.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask for Greg, like he's clearly a character that represents in some ways life beyond the crawl and what that might look like. And we see him, the way he interacts with certain celebrities outside the crawl, with certain characters, other NPC sort of characters within the crawl, that he is still carrying a lot of baggage, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that what's interesting is you all have mentioned it throughout the get-go here. Like I think this is what works about the book is you could very easily give all of Mordecai's backstory right on this first book of like who he is, why is he here, what's this kind of thing. And you don't get that. And like Matt Dinniman is very much like, I don't know how, I haven't done a lot of watched his interviews and stuff, but like he had to have this out pretty scripted out of like, I'm going to go from here, not just like, oh, if this first book goes, I hope like this is where I'll take it then. Like very intentional of, I'm going to give you a little bit here. And the book works in and of itself. And I think what you get there is like going back now, like as Paul's saying, and revisiting the book for a second time. I don't do this very often. But I'm intrigued after reading it to go back and listen to the audiobooks in a different format. And this doesn't give anything away, but like, in the second book, there's a realization for Carl of like, all the other tutorial guides basically didn't care about their crawlers and were like, yeah, dude, like he's like, this is a really bad decision. And you see that, and I'd say that because I think what you see is as much as Mordecai is uninvested in them in this first book, he still was giving them good advice because he still was a genuinely good person. It was like, he is like, how much do I get involved with them? But like he wasn't like telling them to make dumb choices just because he didn't care. Like there was a care, like, and I think that adds a depth to his character of he has a care for the crawlers, as like that he's not going to screw them over intentionally, but he's not really going to invest as much into it. And then once you see that, like Paul and JP have both said in that first book, where he goes, these crawlers are different than what I've dealt with in the past, who I've experienced through the crawl, maybe himself as a crawler. And so it changes his dynamic with them as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's an important mode of like, he still was intentionally like giving them good advice from the get-go of like, this is what you need to do. This is the smart choice. Like he wasn't intentionally trying to screw him over. And so I think like in a book like this, you need a character like this where he's kind of like the Alfred in, to Batman and Robin here. Like
always got to take it back to Batman.
I do. Like you got to bring it back to comics, but like he is that kind of voice of reason. Like he's been through it. He knows what's going on and he's going to give you the advice. And sometimes you're going to be like, like they don't take the advice. Sometimes they do stuff that goes against what Mordecai says to do. And he's like, but then he also is at a stage where he starts to understand who they are as people, then that he's like, I'm going to tell you to do this, knowing though still you're going to do what you do, because Carl is very much of like, everyone's like Donut says it throughout the books too, of like, we all knew you were going to do this. Like you can't help do this. And I think like that's an important aspect of he's a good character up front, with hesitations. And I think that's what then makes him, like Paul says, like that second character, like right there, like he's right up there. He's just as important. And if you take him out, you're going to go, whew. So,
and I think to some of the questions that Paul's brother is asking in the chat, as much as Mordecai is 2, maybe 2A to 2B, maybe the AI is this, as much as it is a setting, is also a character, right?
Yeah.
Do you think, so his question is basically, do you think the AI is intentionally matching crawlers with tutorial, like trainers, to either stymie or benefit them in some regard? Because, okay, for those that don't understand, the AI is basically the dungeon master for the game, right? It is in charge of most all aspects of the dungeon, of each level, of the players, of the stories, and manages all the different facets of the game. Now, there are investors investing in plot lines or producing things, or characters who are trying to accomplish certain things, but the AI is the architect who is basically playing the game, organizing the game. So it's making a lot of decisions for the characters and forcing them into tight corners to kind of see how they get out of them. So I guess I will let JP, because I know JP loves the AI. It's one of his favorite characters.
I mean,
in some ways, I've heard you have this affinity for the I guess, cultured insanity of the artificial intelligence.
John, did you just say basically JP has a foot fetish?
No,
no. That's exactly what I was thinking too.
Did you just tell about JP's
not
foot fetish?
Went through my head as well.
No,
I do not.
I mean, I
feet,
thought
so.
it, but I didn't say it.
Achievement.
I mean, the AI clearly does like feet.
Yes,
I mean,
the AI is a fan.
Really get into the fact that Carl comes into the dungeon in a jacket, t-shirt, boxers, and no shoes.
No shoe. He's very diehard like at the beginning.
How I come into every single YouTube show is boxers and a jacket in the shoe.
Yeah, you don't see from here down. It's just it's Greg on every YouTube show. Yes,
that's it.
So then, I guess JP, what are your thoughts on the AI, and how do you feel about the way the AI paired Mordecai with Carl?
I think you
and
talked
Donut
earlier about the fact that there wasn't a comedic book. Like, there's not a ton of humor, but the AI is clearly used as, particularly in the first book, is clearly like Dinniman's way to put some humor into these awful situations that Carl and Donut are finding them in. Like the AI and the way it reacts, and it's new achievement, and it's like the stupid shit that it says, like when you win, like that's like. It's used as in this first book, especially, I feel like it's used mostly as a tool. Mm-hmm. But having read further, like you see, like there's actually more depth to what the AI is saying in the thing. And the AI is like, as we learn, like they every time they do this, it's a different AI, and like the AI is learning as it goes, and it's like it's becoming more and more aware of both what it's doing and everything, and the people inside. So. Like his question of did the AI set them up with Mordecai on purpose, because technically it knows a little bit about what's in everybody's head that goes in, because there's the way they track all the people on the planet. Like we all have basically an implant is basically and I think there's probably a little bit of that, but I think it's also a little bit of just random, because I don't know that the AI knows enough about everybody at the beginning to be able to do that as accurately as you want. I think it's really more Donut and Carl got lucky in getting Mordecai as someone who, as we'll learn later, feels that he got screwed over by his game guide at one, like during his ultimately, and like therefore doesn't want to do that to other people.
Right.
Like, and so I think there's that aspect of why Mordecai does right by them, even if he doesn't necessarily want to invest initially. But the AI itself is clearly like, they put a teenage boy in charge of like
the asylum
game. I mean, that's really like the personality you're getting from the AI is like, you're putting a teenager that that's entertained by dick jokes and and every fifth grade, maybe more of a fifth grade boy, and fifth, sixth, seventh grade boy in charge of the game is really the personality of the AI, and you've given it ultimate control over all these people,
a lot of power,
given it almost unlimited power within the setting. Over all these people, and it does some really weird stuff.
Which I guess is the ultimate question, right? Is how much is orchestrated and how much is chaos, and because it's got to be some measure of both, right?
And I mean, it clearly latches on to. We see early on the AI itself latches on to Carl for as Greg talked about for a very odd reason, but like it does latch on to different characters. And
I see you, Sheena, but this one's got feet fetishes
and Sheena, so
all kinds of goodies in here. Don't worry.
But
I always want to read the book.
It is.
You should read it, Sheena.
Yeah, it is interesting, like how much the AI, like JP said, though, is the humor of the book, right? Like, especially like when he's doing like the reward boxes and stuff like this, and like he'll explain a quest and like, oh, you ran away from this, and they'll be like, your reward, cowards don't get rewards, suck it. Like, and you're like, and there's that levity because it almost is like, oh, that's funny, because like you would say that, and he says it in a more, you know, snarkier way or things like that. So that adds that humor and like the kind of the over the topness of it that is spot on. And
sure.
And now since JP compared it to a teenager, I can't wait till book 8 and he does something with 6, 7. So
right. What's up, Taylor? Well, I was going to ask you, Paul, like, do you think it's more chaos or do you think there's more design?
I agree with these guys. I think it's a little bit of both. I hope that it was just random because that makes me feel better about Mordecai, right? Just because he is like we're all talking about, like he is hesitant to be invested, but he's still trying to help.
Yeah.
Because we hear about some of the other crawlers that have some of their tutorial guides.
Right.
They're worthless, right? They don't even want to be there and help, you know. So it seems like and Mordecai has some, you know, faults at the beginning, especially for one of the levels or a couple of the levels, the first 2 maybe, where he doesn't do as much, like you said, not as invested, but then he realizes it, and some of the other game guides don't, and they don't help whatsoever. Like, we don't get to hear about a lot of other characters' game guides throughout the rest of the book, so that makes Mordecai a little special. So that randomness, that chaos, I think really plays well to him because, you know, they did get lucky, and it wasn't just out of nowhere, or, you know, it wasn't just, you know, the AI trying to boost views. The AI is just trying to figure out, you know, who's the next person that's going to, you know, be put in a different situation. So
yeah.
Well, and I do think I think there's a switch. You know, we've been talking about the game guides and stuff, and towards the end of book 1, when Mordecai switches from being a game guide, like that, there's a or
when they get to book 2, yeah.
Right. Okay. Right at the idea was that it was going to happen at book 1 was shared the switch, and then like it happens right at the beginning of book 2
at the 3rd level.
Yeah, like there's that switch, and I think that's why we don't see more of the game guides, because there aren't managers and things like that as much throughout the rest of the series. And I think that also plays into going into a little bit more of why Mordecai is like, okay, now there is incentive for Mordecai to, if they do well, he does well too. So I think there's a little bit of that plays into it. And I think that's why it was so important for me to have him be a character who still was invested in him before there was like a benefit for him to turn into that. Like if it just got to like, oh, now I need to, because your well-being, you know, benefits my well-being. He kind of was already there. He just stepped it up a little bit more, you know, once it became a reality. And I think that was important, because Paul says, we don't get other game guides because they're not really game guides, you know, moving forward after level 2.
Yeah. And I don't know if you're overthinking it. Is your brother Mike? Is his name Mike?
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's overthinking it, because the truth is, like, the AI as a character is all powerful, and so you can decide if you feel like there's more organization or more chaos to the decisions that it's making.
The point Mike's going to is that, like, and we find out that, like, Maggie and Frank, that their game guide told them that the best way to survive was to hunt and kill other crawlers.
Yeah.
Like, specifically told them that's what they needed to do if they were going to survive, as opposed to Mordecai, who's just like trying to tell them how to survive the threats of the dungeon. And so they took a path that ultimately led to their conflict with Carl and Donut that was not good for them, as it turned out, like as you go through this book. And so, like, set them up for failure as we go through here. And so yeah, I think there's probably some truth to that, because they did come in fighting, like, and so the AI is taking all that information from the beginning. It just depends on how. There's a little bit of luck. There's a little bit of it's like, oh, these are people are like this, I'm going to send them here. You know,
and it's been and we know that it's been compiling information and learning about the planet Earth for a very long time. It just hasn't been activated to have control until the games begin. So it has information in general about Earth, but maybe not about the crawlers in particular until it sees the way they play.
Yeah. Well, and I think that goes into the kind of an idea of like a game guide, like a coach too, right? Like a coach has a mindset of like, hey, this is what you need to do to survive. But once you get to know your players, you understand that a player is different necessarily. And what works for one, you're going to say like, hey, this isn't the path for you because you need to do A, B, and C, and you can achieve. And some players could do exactly what Mordecai is doing with Carl, but because they don't have Carl's heart, they don't have Carl's mindset, they can never excel the way Carl can excel in this series because of that. So I do think there's that recognizing that as a game guide of once you have to say, okay, there's something different about my player here. There's something different. And I think you see that too. And sometimes you have a good coach that can do that and see that in someone. And other times they just say, you know what, this is what you need to do. Hunt, kill, do this, kill.
And for that game guides that Frank and Maggie's game guides benefit or whatever, Frank, they were fighting with people when they first come into the dungeon. Frank killed a person, like another crawler, right at the very beginning before they ever went to a guide. And one of his first rewards was that ring. The ring was a reward that he got right off the bat. So the game guide,
which to me is just crazy. Sorry.
I mean, but it's setting him up for a path, right? And then it tries to reinforce that path.
It reinforces that path. Yeah. So
I don't remember Mistress.
It's Mistress Tiatha,
the old people.
Yeah,
third game guide.
Yeah. It's,
okay.
Was it L?
I don't even remember her name.
L and
Vet.
Yeah. And
Chris and
Brandon and
Brandon and
that's their guy.
That whole team.
To me, like that was just like you saying that is me remembering, because I haven't gotten to that part in the audiobook, or haven't gotten to that second part, having to do it the second time through. That ring was given to him at the beginning of level 1. Like,
he got the ring the same way Carl got the biscuit that turned donut Cynthia. Like before they ever got to a guide.
They all got a big reward kind of for those first things. And like Carl's was first one bringing a pet in. So he got this, specialized pet biscuit because he was one of the first. And the first kill, you got this, the ring and things.
Yeah.
And so I do think there is a little bit too of that with the gameplay of like, there is going to be rewards because as any good TV show and things, you're going to want to entice your players to do and say, hey, if I did this from killing someone right off the bat, well, now I got to continue to do this moving forward.
Yeah, it's like it's identifying and defining them by those early moments and then reinforcing that behavior again and again.
On a smaller scale, Carl comes into the dungeon without pants and shoes, and the game never lets him have pants and shoes.
Yeah,
like
it creates an identity for him.
But I mean, like that's like. It takes that this is Carl, this is what he looks like, that we're going to, the game as well as like the way they're selling this character for people to watch is like, we're going to take this and this is going to be you. This is what you look like.
Yeah.
And we see that later when we meet, which we haven't talked about yet, one of the characters outside the game, when they actually like go out, leave the game to interact with the way they portray themselves to the universe versus who they really are. Like you see that they become that persona that you are in the game.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's a lot to these books, as you can tell from the way we're chatting about it. A lot of characters. The environment could be a whole discussion as far as each level of the dungeon. But then there's an entire universe going on outside of the dungeon as far as, viewers who are watching it, gamblers who are betting on it, billionaire oligarchs who are investing in it, and whether they're trying to program something or participate from afar or, win money based on lower levels and how they can interact there. And then entertainment. There are spin-off shows, interview shows, entertainment shows, all sort of feeding off of the beast, which is
their version of a TikTok, right? Like they're called like snitches or switches or like something like. Yeah.
So the universe for the Dungeon Crawler series is quite vast, and there's a lot of pieces to it. Like any good, I think, science fiction or fantasy series, there's a lot to discuss here. I don't think we have time to get into everything, but I was curious if there was a facet of this that someone like Paul that you would like to discuss, that you feel like interests you or that you think is vital.
Especially in book 1, I think those interview shows truly make a big difference for the longevity of the crawler, right? Being in front of an audience, being in front of a crowd, gaining some notoriety, whatever it might be, whether it be through the crawl itself or their interactions outside of the crawl with other people. Like, I think though that the talk shows make a difference for Carl and Donut.
Oh, for certain.
I think that's one of the biggest things, that they're able to move through the dungeon the way they do, and they get the support / resistance that they experience from all of the different perspectives, whether it's from fellow crawlers or from the AI or from the different things, right? Their views matter. So them being in front of more people more often, that matters to Donut a lot, but it matters.
It's a popularity contest for sure.
So and her being a show cat, it's always been a popularity contest. So it's like it's perfect for her, and Carl's just along for the ride a lot of times for those first couple interviews, but it helps them in the dungeon too. So, and it kind of goes against them a little bit in the dungeon too, because people, take offense to some of the stuff they say or that they do, or support.
Or they try to define them by an action that they took at one point out of context, because a lot of that the recap shows and things, it's easy to define a character as psychopathic or out of control when Carl. You just see snippets of their behavior within the dungeon, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Greg, how about you? Is there any aspect of the universe here that you feel like you want to get into, or do you want to talk about what Paul wanted to?
I want to go off what Paul said, because what I like is I think those interview shows are crucial to the book, but almost from a different standpoint. Again, I rave about. I think very often I stray away from fantasy books because the world building can be so cumbersome, right? Like it's so much, and this is vast. And I think what Dinniman does, to his credit, does a very good job of giving you just enough to get a little bit you're into it. And I think these interview shows were what really sold it for me, of getting to see the world outside of the dungeon, right? Getting to understand who are watching these shows, who are the people that are invested. The other ones, like you have Adet, you have the Maestro and their shows, and like you have, just like in our pop culture, you have stuff where you're like, oh, this is elevated, journalism, and then you others like this is Joe Rogan, this is whatever, like you have and I think you have that, and Dinniman's not making political statements or anything here, but what he's doing is, just like we have different types of shows on our world and interviews, and where you go, you're going to get the crowd that likes this, you're going to get this type of crowd that watches this, and these are the people that watch this. I think you have that there, and it gives you a glimpse into this world. Again, you're just getting a little bit, but your understanding of like when you get to see, they get hijacked and go on the Maestro show, and those interactions with someone that they don't agree with at all in any way, and they're like, you're just a frat bro, and who looks like a pig, and and your fans that what you do, glurp glurp. And I think like those are things that really help build the story, because you get to understand who's watching, this crawl, right? Like
For sure.
they're so, and it comes up a lot throughout the books, but like we become so desensitized by what we see on TV and things. And I think the more we see, like in our world, like I'll talk in our world, like when we see stuff happen on TV or on TikToks and on videos and stuff, like it desensitizes us. And so even more, like they've done this as something they're so used to that it's second place. And I think that's interesting to see that dynamic and to see like these game shows and these, you know, because book one is still where they had the game show, right? Where it's like you pulled people from the game, or is that book two? And they have them on the interview show, and then they it was like Quan or where they were on the game show. That's book two, where they're on the game show, and then they get transported. They get pulled out of a situation they're about to die.
The Maestro. That's book one.
Okay.
Where he pulls Lee June and
yeah, that's the Maestro. That's his show. Like,
that's Maestro. Doing that, like the Death Watch thing.
Yeah, Death Watch. And so they like that type of game show compared to like we pull you from this, and then how do you? Yeah, that's right. It was all with the Maestro and like giving tips of like, and like people are like, oh, this is natural, this is cool, this is funny, versus like an Audette show. So I thought those, as much as it gives us like the importance of those shows for the crawlers and what they and how they then interact in the game moving forward because they get the notoriety and stuff, I found it fascinating to give me just a little bit. I don't need an entire book about the world outside the dungeon. Like I'd be bored with that. But
I don't feel like the world outside the dungeon is as important in those sequences as it is. It does give backstory, right, to the characters that have been in this dungeon longer than our characters. And it fleshes out the significance of certain people, certain places, and certain pasts that are impacting our characters in the current edition of the crawl, right? And I think those interview shows are almost like flashbacks in some ways, because you always seem to get a few nuggets of, oh, that's why Mordecai is the way he is, or, oh, that's why this one faction wants to do what they want to do, right? It's always like the nuggets that expand the understanding of everything, right? Yeah. JP, sorry, did you want to add on to any of this, or was there something you wanted to tap into?
I think what goes hand in hand with that is the fact that we meet Zev, who is their publicist, who works for the people that are the species that are running the game, and is like basically the one that's booking their interviews and telling them when to go on. And like, so this is one of the people that has done this to our planet that Carl and Donut have to interact with. And I think for me, the most interesting part is like you get to see Carl realize how they're being viewed, like how he's being like the way the universe thinks about humans and about like our planet. And it's just this big game that like, and they like, if you die, who cares? And like Carl trying to navigate like the fact that he just wants to go on these and just rage at these people, like, and just scream at them, like, what are you doing? You're just mass murder for no entertainment. And him having to not, and then the fact that he has Donut to be like this character, because he needs to a certain degree, he needs these people, if they're going to survive, because they need like to get the things that they need to survive. Like they have to sort of ingratiate to these people that are taking joy from their suffering.
Because he has no charm or no, interest in being entertaining, whereas Donut has all of that and more.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
he does have his Russell Crowe moment where he's like, "Are you not entertained?"
Well, he does with the like it is funny because like on Odette's show, it's very much Donut packs them.
Yeah.
But when he runs into a bully and another like teen, like Carl's like, oh, I know how to deal with this jackass, and he's just like, and like, so he knows how to deal with that guy because he knows who that guy is. Like Carl instantly recognizes who the Maestro is, and so like, but I think like just the way he interacts and with his, it's this funny thing, and like through a lot of the book, like anytime Zev like contacts them, and Carl's always like, go fuck yourself, Zev. And Zev sort of laughs it off and doesn't pay any attention to it. but it's Carl's outlet to say what he actually thinks for that one moment. Like he really means it, but he knows
there's no cameras on him usually. There's no audience to entertain.
Yeah. And he does times he does a decent job, but it's an interesting interaction in terms of like it allows them a window into what's really like happening to them in a way they wouldn't get without going outside the game and interacting with Odette and and they have these two in the first book they have these two very different experiences. They go on Odette's show,
very different programs,
like after they get done with the interview, it's like trying to help them, and Carl's like trying to understand why, and it's basically you find out that she knows Mordecai, and like she's like very much it's sort of a Johnny Carson whatever kind of thing, like the way her show works, and you see that she's a former crawler also that's gotten out, and she's a former crawler that's actually out of the game completely.
Yeah.
But still using the game to make money in Carl's eyes, so he doesn't know what to think about her. But he attempts to at least help them here. And then they go into Maestro, and this is a guy who never had to be in the game, who's just purely like using it for his jollies and to make profit and to make himself a name for himself. And so there's two very different things that they interact with, that he gets the perspective of what's happening in the outside galaxy that we don't necessarily understand everything, but we get to see that perspective of the game and why they do it and what people think about it and the people that are in it. So
because I mean, obviously the aspect that it's this entertainment, that it's this popularity contest, plays into most facets of what's happening inside the game for the AI, especially, and the choices it's making to kind of keep it an entertainment all the way through.
Something that Greg had mentioned earlier, it like resonates too, is like the world building could have been so vast, but because Dinniman uses things that we already recognize from pop culture, from the media, from just the normal everyday things, it makes it so much easier to take in, to consume, to realize where they're at in the grand scheme.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, that's the trick of, I think, a lot of fantasy, and I hesitate to call this fantasy. It feels more like sci-fi to me, but like the goal of a good sci-fi or fantasy, I feel like, is to at least make things relatable in some facets. There will be things that are new, things that are fantastical, but if you can ground it in like things that you know and understand, like the behavior of cats or what have you, that you can then, it talks and it can shoot missiles, but like I know how cats behave, and this is consistent with my understanding, right? I wanted to spend a second before we finish up here, because I know it's getting a little late, to hit on two things for each of you. Firstly, like, how would you score this book? Like, what if you were going to give this a grade out of 10 or out of 5 or however you want to do it? And then how would you necessarily rank it with the other 7 that you've read? Does it rank near the top, near the bottom? You don't have to give it an exact spot, but is it middle of the pack? Is it near the top? Is it near the bottom for you now that you've read all 7? So Greg, I will throw it to you first. How are you feeling about this book overall and how it fits?
This is a 4 out of 5 for me. Like my Goodreads, that's how I rank my books. They don't do half stars. And for me, 4 out of 5 is like, I really, really enjoyed it. A 5 star is very rare. Of like where I'm like, this was great, like hands down the best thing. And one book in this series gets a 5 for me.
Nice.
You all know what it is. So what book that is. And so like this ranks up there for me. I think going back and re-listening to it, rereading this book, it gave value to why I liked it. There's some nuances that like where it bogs down a little bit for me. And maybe that's just on this reread because I already know where we're at. So I don't need like some of those things. So I take that, but it really lays the groundwork for like a top-notch series, right? Like we're all talking about a book series that we've all read 7 books of, like
and read them very quickly.
And this is the smallest of the books. They just get bigger, gang. Like,
yeah, the last few, was it 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all pretty massive.
They're like double the size of this. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, that's not a joke. This is a 400-page book. The other one is 800 pages.
Yeah.
So the last one was 800 something. So for me, like it did what it needed to do to tell the story where like you want to invest more, you want to be in it. It did so often sometimes in like a TV show or a book series, you can get like, okay, you might not like this, but wait till you get to episode 6 of the
season 4 is really good. You got to get through the first
where
3
they
seasons.
They find their rhythm. It's like,
that's the Clone Wars drama everybody's trying to pitch me on. You got to get through those first 4 seasons of the Clone Wars, and then it starts to get good.
The first season. You don't even have to watch it; just skip it.
And so for me, like I do take value in like this is a great introduction to a book that has then cultivated a fandom for a reason. You don't have to like. Book 5 is my favorite book. I don't have to sit there and go like, wait till you get to book 5, and if you don't like it, then it's like. So I think so for me, it's up there as this is probably. I again trying to remember off the top of my head, I'd say it's top 3 of my favorite of the 7 books. I we'll see how that changes as we go through the series.
Sure.
It's like right now it'd be 2 or 3 if I'm thinking, and I don't know necessarily off the top of my head if that could change, but it's up there in the top tier
section for sure.
Yeah, it's the top. Okay. It's top section for sure.
Nice. So, JP, how about you? How would you score this one, and where would it rank in general, in broad terms?
For my personal thing, like I score it, and like Goodreads annoys me because it doesn't give half stars.
I hate that. I hate it.
I hate that. So for me, like basically, it's the equivalent of a 9 out of 10 or a 4.5 out of 5, right. Which is basically the lower end of what I've scored any of these books. But I would probably put it kind of in the middle, like in terms of like my actual enjoyment. Not, unlike Greg, I have 2 books that would be 5s out of the series. But like, I would put it in the middle. There's probably 3. There's 3 books definitely I would rank ahead of it. There's another book that I would probably put equivalent to it, and then there's probably a couple of books that would be behind it. Then basically,
okay.
I can't wait for this series to go on. I'm so intrigued.
But I do think it's a wonderful intro to this world. I think it does a great job of setting up the basic concepts of what you're dealing with going forward. It gives you plenty to invest in Carl and Donut right off the bat and who they are and why you should care about them. I mean, as you go through this and like why you should. One of the things I've had, like, there's other series that like people love that they tell me to watch, and I'm like, I don't want to spend time with these people. Like you get into it, you're like, I don't like this person. I don't want to spend time with them. Like,
right.
You don't ever feel that with Carl and Donut. You're instantly invested. You understand.
Fear agent.
Yeah. And like you.
Sorry, no, that was Black Science, not Fear
I
agent.
thought you were going to talk about Kale.
Black Science. Black Science.
Kale.
Like,
I thought you were going to say Kale Dorian.
Yes, Kale.
No, I said Black Science that JP made me read.
So like you're immediately invested in like the journey that they're going on and their effort to survive here. And like it's easy to care about Carl and Donut like early on. And I think Dinniman does a great job of giving us enough to understand what's going on in this kind of crazy universe that we're getting introduced to. Like, I mean, right off the bat, like every building on the planet is gone and you're in a dungeon. And it's like, and he does enough. And for me, I think he walks the line, but he could like the new achievements that Greg talked about and stuff could bog the book down, but he makes, by putting the humor there, he makes that not bog the book down, I think. It's really like, like the way he uses the AI could totally bog these down, and it doesn't do that. And so, yeah, I think Dinniman does a fantastic job. I put this book squarely in the middle of the series in terms of the best books. And yeah, I think it's a great ride. And anybody that likes even anything close to this, I think this kind of yeah, if you're interested, if you're a gamer in any way, shape, or form, or if you just this book, you should try it. You absolutely should try it. So.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And Paul, how about you? Where would you rank this one, and how would you score this one?
So, thinking about it, I think when we look at all of these book series that we've had a chance to talk about and go over together, I think this book is the best intro into a universe that we've had, right? We've done Throne of Glass,
Fourth
we've
Wing,
done Fourth Wing, you guys did ACOTAR. All of those intro books were in the top half for all of those series, simply because you're introduced to the world, you're introduced to these characters. I think this book beats those other first books as the intro into the universe, into this dungeon crawler, for me at least.
Sure.
So for me, that's what makes it rank a little bit higher than, middle of the pack or top 3. I think it's top 2, simply before that reason. Because it introduces you to Carl and Dona and Mordecai in this universe, and you're instantly you buy in by the end of this book. You're bought in at the beginning, but by the end you're like, man, I don't see myself not finishing the series. You talked about, I think Greg talked about it, or John, we started the series, this year. For a lot of us, I bought the first book at the end of March, and we read all 7 of these books.
Oh yeah.
Within 6 months, or 7 months.
I read the first book, so yeah.
And how many? And that, I don't think people understand how many actual pages that is.
It's a lot.
It's ridiculous.
It's a ton.
So this book is the reason why we all kept going. So
sure.
For me, that makes it just automatically in the top 2, right? At least.
Okay.
I would agree with Greg that book 5 is great. It's probably one. It's 2B for me, simply because I read book 7 most recently, and I think that's 2A maybe. I still think this is the best of the books, because it just it kept me engaged. It kept me wanting more, and it's the reason that I've spent all of these hours reading through and now listening to it. It's because of this first book, so it makes it in the top for me.
Nice. I mean, it's hard to disagree with a lot of what you guys are saying as far as this being a really good jumping on point. It works on a lot of levels. I will say I'd be curious to hear the audiobook version and see if it changes my feelings on it. For me, it ranks lower middle, but it's not a slight, because again, like you've all mentioned, this was a series where we never wanted to stop. We all just kind of railed through. Every other reading took a back seat to this series when we got into it. And it didn't stop till we wrapped book 7, and now we're all awaiting book 8 next year.
Shout out to JP for finishing Throne of Glass before you two knuckleheads.
Way before.
I love you all. Don't forget it. I love you.
No, I'm thinking on principle here. Listen, John told you all before, he's got 6 shows with me that we haven't scheduled. So why am I going to read a book that I'm not going to remember a year from now when we schedule it? So
I still got to remember Assassin's Blade.
I've already read Assassin's Blade. I read that 3 months ago, and we haven't even done that.
I read it before you, buddy.
I know. I'm just saying, but we still haven't done the show. I'm not saying whether you've read it or not.
I'm saying I'm giving us never doing those shows.
I still don't think that Assassin's Blade deserves.
That's why I just went on and read them.
Yeah. But yeah, so for me, I think the reason I rank it a little lower, and I'd probably give it 8.5 out of 10, is simply the fact that I felt like the dungeons weren't as interesting in levels 1, 2, and maybe even level 3 for me. It's the levels started to get better for me beyond that. At that point, I started to have more interest in the emotional character dynamics instead of just the characters themselves, and the relationship between Donut and Carl is better for me later than it is in the first two books, when it feels a little surface level still in the first two books. So this one, again, if the lowest or the low half is 8.5 out of 10, it's a pretty solid series overall. Not a lot to really complain about here, and I was very happy to keep going in these series. I didn't ever really break stride the whole time through. Even when I said I was going to slow down, I was like, no, I feel good. I'm on book 7. I couldn't even stop. I just kept plowing through those.
Right. Like, and there's a significant difference. Like we talked about other series where like John's like, I don't know if I'm going to continue with it. And
yeah.
like,
yes.
Yeah, that series. That's
but
definitely
like, but I think there's a testament. Like, and I always find like these rankings are tough, right? Because let's be honest, these are whose line is it anyways rankings, because they really don't matter. Because like you can't get to a ranking of a book 5 or a 6 without having book 1 already there. So like is read this is the same of like your New Hope versus Empire Strikes Back. Like you don't get Empire Strikes Back if you don't have the groundwork that's already told the story that you're there at.
Yeah.
So like these are arbitrary at some point, and they're tough to kind of. With all of that being said, we like this book series a lot, gang.
Yeah. Exactly. And you can expect more of these. We've got 6 other novels we've all read in this series, and we want to spend a little more time maybe on the minutia of the dungeons and all the other side characters as we get deeper in this series. We've just kind of scratched the surface of the basics for these worlds, so there'll be more details to get into as we continue along here. But thank you to all of you for motivating me to read this series, because I probably, just on one of you alone, I probably wouldn't have kept up with it. But the fact that you all were like, where's John on this? He's got to read these.
FOMO, baby. FOMO was a real thing.
FOMO was a real
all
thing.
doubting me, all telling me that I was going to hate this.
I think that JB, that was brilliant. I think that was the move. JB going during our 4th game talk, I don't know if John's gonna like this.
Am I that much of a contrarian that's how you get me?
And then John's like, screw you. I'm gonna read
it.
Tell
me what I'm gonna like or dislike.
So it's like it was like me with everyone's like, oh, the second Joker
I'm that much of a basic bitch that you could easily like reverse psychology me.
And I did not like it though.
Well, I will say, and for anybody watching this, is there is the parts of it I wasn't sure you would like is. It does at times, like some of the jokes are very crude. It is like, because the AI does, like I said, have like a 5th grade boy kind of humor.
Right.
There is some over the top kind of violent stuff that happens where like monsters are fighting explode, and like there's just like the level of like
it's quite graphic in some sequences as far as violence goes.
I wasn't sure that because there's not a ton of humor or anything in it, I wasn't sure that you would like. I was afraid some of that might turn you off, and I think there are some readers that it would turn off. I've been surprised at how many people have not been turned off by that because of how well everything is. That some of the Dinniman's, some of the crude language and over the top violence, graphic violence doesn't turn some people off. Because I think there's definitely a perspective where it could.
And I had to shift
a fine line with some of that.
Yeah, and again, like I mentioned early on, I had to shift my perspective from feeling like I was getting a fantasy book, and I love fantasy, and I usually don't like sci-fi. I had to shift my brain into like, no, maybe I'll enjoy this sci-fi story, and I was expecting more comedy, and it was far more. I hate the word grounded, but I keep going back to it. Like it just felt more real. Like the characters were really traumatized by the violence. They were really dealing with the weight of sacrifice and loss and these kinds of things. But for me, the reason why I think I liked some of the books later that other people didn't like as much is because it felt like that's when some of the characters admitted their true feelings a little bit more, and there were connections being made that felt like they were beyond the surface level, and I got more out of it. I feel like so
that real trauma really it's there, especially towards the end. Those last couple, like 5, 6, and 7, there's definitely some things that are happening to the characters that were really bought into and taking notice of, and like the stuff that they're going through from their perspective, it truly is traumatic. It is. It almost kind of plays along the lines of like a drama, if you will, like where you're going through this with them, and in this insane and inane world that they're in a dungeon that they're trying to survive.
I think the end of book 2 really gets that shift of where that dialogue goes. End of book 2, you really start to see, without going into any detail, you get to see the characters start to shift a little bit, maybe be a little bit more real with what they're feeling, what they're going through, what they're processing, those relationships, and then it allows it to build off going forward.
Sure.
But I mean, John likes the later books anyways because Samantha comes into the scenario. So
well, that's true.
Good old.
I'm the only one that seems to like the train book. Like I really like.
Actually, I will say the audiobook. I did not. The train book was toward the bottom for me on the.
Is that book 4?
Book 3.
So it's
book 4 is the gate. Book 4 is the feral gate where they're all in different locations.
I get mixed up because sometimes the level doesn't match the book. So it's like it's the third level. But
the train one is the third book.
The fourth level, but the third book. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but anyway, like when I re-listened to 3, and I think it would have been the same if I'd reread it. I changed my perspective because I got past the complications of the level and just listened to this, some of the character stuff in 3 jumped it up. It changed where it was on my list.
Well, you have an understanding of how the dynamics work, and I
understood how the dynamics were, and I could focus more on the characters and the story that's actually going on there. And I like the third book a lot more after I did.
That's what I'm looking forward to here because I like I said, I just finished book 2 on the audio, and I'm looking.
The audio on 3. That's the only one I would say that really changed. The audio really changed my original thought process on the book.
Okay. All right. Because I do want to get and read those because I listened to those, I should say, at some point, because I know you guys have all told me how great it was. And I only heard a few chapters of book. Was it 4 with you, 4. JP? Feral Gates? I think it was Feral Gates.
John, the first thing you do, if you haven't yet, I did a free trial on Audible. You can download 2 books free. And so I did that, and then I canceled my subscription. And then every so often they will put those up and you can just watch it, and where it's like a $5 audiobook, and I snag it when it's cheap. Like they'll do it out of
your way
order
through
just to tick you off. But if you're watching it, you can do it. And how long do
you get the Audible? Like how long do you have
the book? Then the trial I did, I got it for a month, and then I have the 2 books for like they give you 2 books for free when you sign up for the trial.
Yeah, and you have those whether you're
and they're with you no matter what.
And then any of the ones you buy, obviously you get to keep.
And then the other ones you buy. So like I did, I got book 1 and 2 right off the bat, and then book 3 was like $20 Audible. I was like, no, thank you. And then I saw it was like $5 one day, and I was like, a check, please. Yeah. So I'm waiting to see like when the other ones do that. So
nice. Okay, good to know. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate the hour and a half hangout here and everybody who hung out with us. I hope everybody hit the like button, subscribed, and went around and got the YouTube channels for everybody here on the panel. Obviously, if you're watching this channel, hopefully you've seen the playlist of other fun book clubs that I've done with these gentlemen, and you can find them all here. We will be back, like I said, for more of these, and ideally an Assassin's Blade at some point down the road here. But
I still have hope. I still have hope that we're going to get to Crescent City.
Oh goodness!
I'll get there once we do Assassin's Blade video. I'll start that series again.
No, the Crescent City's the last series. What do you
know? I thought we had to do more Throne of Glass.
We gotta get you through Throne of Glass. I'm not ready for a
third.
You gotta get through Throne of Glass, dude.
Yeah.
Paul, once we get Assassin's Blade, I'll finish the Throne of Glass series. Then once we do
that's the correct answer. You gotta eat your kale first before you have your dessert.
Once we do the show, then I will read those books
before you have your croissant.
It changes everything.
I said deuces with Throne of Glass for right now, and I'm reading some Smut again. So there you go.
All right, there we go.
Always down for Smut.
I'm going to get us out of here. Let these guys get some sleep. But we'll see you guys all again, ideally, very soon. Thanks everybody for coming.